The galaxy was vast, ancient, and proud. Alien civilizations had thrived for millennia under the rule of the Galactic Council, a body that viewed itself as the ultimate arbiter of order and civilization. When humanity entered the interstellar stage, the Council barely took notice. Earth was a backwater planet, a latecomer to the galactic arena, viewed as little more than an oddity. The Council's dismissive attitude persisted even as humanity grew in influence, trading its ingenuity and technology for resources and alliances. It wasn't long before humanity's advancements began to disrupt long-standing monopolies, threatening the Council's control. The Council responded with a series of measures designed to curtail Earth's influence. Trade restrictions were imposed, followed by sanctions that targeted Earth's burgeoning colonies. Earth's diplomats, ever patient, sought to resolve matters peacefully. They argued their case at every opportunity, presenting proposals that balanced fairness and collaboration. But their pleas fell on deaf ears. To the Council, humanity's insistence on equality was a threat to their supremacy. The final insult came during a high-profile summit. Humanity unveiled a groundbreaking energy-sharing initiative, one that could stabilize regions racked by scarcity and conflict. It was a testament to Earth's determination to contribute positively to the galaxy. The Council dismissed the proposal without consideration. One elder alien representative, his voice dripping with contempt, mocked humanity's efforts as childish idealism, unfit for the complexity of galactic governance. The insult was broadcast across the galaxy, sparking debates among the species. While some admired Earth's initiative, others echoed the Council's disdain. Back on Earth, the reaction was mixed. Many were angered, others disheartened, but the prevailing sentiment was resilience. Earth had weathered insults and challenges before, and its leaders resolved to try again. Quietly, humanity's top scientists and engineers continued their work, preparing for contingencies no one in the galaxy imagined they would need. When the Council escalated, it did so with calculated cruelty. Claiming to protect galactic stability, they launched a blockade on human colonies, cutting off vital supplies and crippling infrastructure. Starvation and unrest followed. News of the suffering spread, but the Council justified its actions, framing humanity as dangerous upstarts who needed to be subdued. The breaking point came when a Council fleet descended on the colony of Vega Prime. The attack was swift and devastating. Civilians were rounded up, infrastructure destroyed, and resistance crushed with brutal efficiency. The Council's forces broadcast their actions, using the assault as a demonstration of power. Their message was clear: submit or be annihilated. The footage from Vega Prime hit Earth like a thunderclap. Images of burning cities, terrified families, and alien soldiers gloating over their victory were impossible to ignore. Across Earth and its colonies, a collective fury took hold. The Council's arrogance had united humanity in a way few events ever had. Politicians and civilians alike demanded action. For too long, humanity had sought peaceful solutions, only to be met with contempt and violence. The President of Earth addressed the planet in a speech that would be remembered for generations. Standing before a backdrop of the Vega Prime ruins, they declared, "We have offered peace. We have sought understanding. Yet, the Council has answered with war and humiliation. Let them mock us. Let them underestimate us. But let them never forget what humanity does when backed into a corner." The speech galvanized humanity. Across the globe, efforts that had been kept in the shadows were brought into the light. Advanced warships, built in secret as a precaution against alien hostility, were readied for deployment. Prototype weapons, once thought to be mere experiments, were prepared for combat. For decades, humanity had developed technology that far surpassed the Council's assumptions. Now, it would be unleashed. The Council had mistaken diplomacy for weakness, and they were about to learn the truth. Humanity's response to the Council's aggression was swift and unified. The attack on Vega Prime, coupled with the condescending dismissal of Earth's proposals, erased divisions among nations and factions. What had once been scattered efforts now merged into a singular purpose: survival. Leaders from every corner of Earth met to form a coalition, setting aside political rivalries and ideological differences. The goal was no longer negotiation, it was preparation for war. Earth's greatest minds converged, pooling resources and intelligence. Engineers, scientists, and strategists worked tirelessly, unveiling projects that had been kept hidden for years. Humanity had always been innovative, its ingenuity honed by centuries of overcoming adversity. Now, that same resilience was directed toward ensuring the species' survival against an enemy that had underestimated it. Secret facilities, buried deep beneath the surface, became the heart of Earth's war effort. Prototypes once deemed too radical were now refined and weaponized. Communications across Earth and its colonies buzzed with activity. Skilled hackers infiltrated the Council's networks, gathering intelligence on their military strategies and vulnerabilities. Every piece of information became a building block for humanity's counteroffensive. In a show of solidarity, industrial hubs around the planet transformed overnight into war factories. Civilian ships were refitted for combat, while massive orbital shipyards churned out advanced vessels at an unprecedented rate. Every resource was leveraged, every advantage pursued. Humanity's military leadership assembled an unconventional command structure. It was diverse, pulling from every nation, culture, and background to form a team that could think unpredictably, a trait humanity excelled at. Strategies were drawn up, simulations run, and drills conducted. Unlike the Council, which relied on its centuries-old doctrines, humanity embraced adaptability. They knew the Council expected them to play by the same outdated rules that had been used to dominate other species. They had no intention of doing so. The Council, meanwhile, remained oblivious to the storm they had unleashed. Confident in their superiority, they dismissed humanity's mobilization as futile. They mocked Earth's efforts, broadcasting propaganda that painted humanity as reckless and desperate. To the Council, humanity was a minor annoyance that would be swiftly dealt with. This arrogance, however, would prove to be their greatest mistake. As humanity prepared for war, messages of support began to arrive from unexpected corners of the galaxy. Not all species agreed with the Council's methods. Some saw humanity's defiance as a glimmer of hope against the Council's tyranny. Quietly, a few species offered resources, intelligence, and even soldiers. They recognized that humanity's fight was not just about Earth, it was a battle for freedom against a system that had oppressed countless worlds. Humanity's leaders made a decision that would define the conflict. They would not wait for the Council to strike again. Offensive operations were planned with precision, focusing on strategic targets that would cripple the Council's ability to retaliate. Stealth technology, long dismissed by the Council as impractical, became a cornerstone of humanity's strategy. Vessels capable of evading detection were deployed to gather reconnaissance and disrupt enemy supply lines. The first wave of humanity's counteroffensive was not a direct assault but a series of calculated disruptions. Supply depots vanished in explosions, communication hubs went dark, and Council fleets found themselves ambushed in deep space. Each strike was executed with surgical precision, leaving no trace of the attackers. The Council's forces, accustomed to overwhelming their opponents through sheer might, found themselves outmaneuvered by an enemy they had underestimated. The propaganda war also intensified. Humanity broadcast messages across the galaxy, showcasing their unity and resilience. They exposed the Council's atrocities on Vega Prime and other colonies, shifting public opinion. These messages resonated with oppressed species, many of whom began to question the Council's authority. Some even initiated uprisings of their own, further destabilizing the Council's grip on the galaxy. As humanity's operations unfolded, the Council scrambled to respond. Their fleets, massive and powerful but rigid in their tactics, struggled against humanity's fluid and unpredictable strategies. For every human ship destroyed, two more seemed to appear, armed with weapons the Council had never encountered before. Humanity's ability to adapt and innovate was unmatched, and it became clear that this was not a species that would go quietly into the night. The turning point came when humanity unveiled its true strength, warships of unprecedented size and firepower. These vessels, hidden from the galaxy for years, were technological marvels. They incorporated artificial intelligence, advanced shielding, and weaponry that rendered the Council's defenses obsolete. When the first of these warships appeared on the battlefield, it changed the course of the conflict. The Council, for the first time in centuries, found itself on the defensive. Humanity's resolve was unshakable. The pain of loss and the fury of injustice fueled their determination. Every human, from the soldiers on the front lines to the engineers building the war machines, understood what was at stake. This was not just a fight for survival, it was a fight for dignity, for the right to exist without being subjugated. The Council's arrogance had awoken something they could not control, the collective wrath of humanity. The conflict escalated to a level the galaxy had never seen. Humanity, long underestimated and mocked, began to rewrite the rules of war. The Council's forces, once thought to be invincible, found themselves outmatched at every turn. Their fleets, sprawling and heavily armed, were slow to adapt to the new strategies humanity employed. What the Council failed to anticipate was humanity's ability to innovate under pressure, turning every setback into an opportunity to improve. The initial counterattacks by humanity were surgical, but as their confidence grew, so did their scope of operations. The Council, accustomed to overwhelming their enemies with brute force, found its fleets systematically dismantled. Humanity's warships, faster and more agile, struck with precision, exploiting weaknesses in the Council's ancient formations. The Council's commanders, bound by tradition and arrogance, were slow to adjust. Their confidence in their own superiority became a fatal flaw. Every skirmish became a lesson, and humanity applied those lessons immediately. Their adaptability was unparalleled, a reflection of their history of overcoming insurmountable odds. Earth's military leaders made decisions in real time, outmaneuvering the Council's cumbersome chain of command. It was no longer just a war of weapons, it was a war of wits, and humanity was winning. The Council's fleets began to retreat, abandoning key positions in an attempt to regroup. For the first time in galactic history, the Council was on the defensive. Their propaganda, which had once portrayed humanity as reckless aggressors, now rang hollow. Reports of Council losses spread across the galaxy, fueling unrest among their member species. The cracks in their authority widened as more species questioned their leadership. Humanity capitalized on these fractures. Diplomatic channels, once used to plead for peace, now served a new purpose. Messages were sent to oppressed species, offering them a choice: continue to live under the Council's tyranny or join humanity in their fight for freedom. Some species, inspired by humanity's defiance, began their own uprisings. Others provided covert support, supplying intelligence and resources that strengthened humanity's position. The Council, desperate to regain control, launched a massive counteroffensive. Their largest fleets converged on strategic locations, hoping to overwhelm humanity with sheer numbers. But humanity had anticipated this move. Using the intelligence they had gathered, they set a trap that would change the course of the war. As the Council's fleets advanced, humanity unleashed weapons the galaxy had never seen before. These were not just tools of destruction, they were symbols of humanity's ingenuity and determination. Advanced energy weapons sliced through the Council's ships, and electromagnetic pulses rendered their systems useless. The Council's fleets, so confident in their dominance, were decimated in a matter of hours. It was a display of power that shook the galaxy to its core. The destruction of the Council's flagship became the turning point. The ship, a symbol of their authority, was obliterated in a single strike by one of humanity's prototype warships. The event was broadcast across the galaxy, a stark reminder of the consequences of underestimating humanity. The Council's leaders, once untouchable, now faced the reality of their mistakes. The psychological impact on the Council's forces was immediate. Morale plummeted as rumors of humanity's unstoppable weapons spread. Commanders hesitated, unsure of how to counter an enemy that seemed to predict their every move. The once unified Council began to fracture as internal divisions surfaced. Some members argued for peace, while others insisted on escalating the conflict. This discord only strengthened humanity's position. As humanity pushed deeper into Council territory, their message became clear: This was not a war for conquest but a fight for survival and justice. They made no attempts to occupy planets or subjugate populations. Instead, they dismantled the Council's infrastructure, targeting military installations and supply lines. This strategic precision demonstrated humanity's restraint, even in the face of overwhelming anger and loss. The galaxy watched in awe as humanity continued its advance. Species that had once dismissed them now saw them as a force to be reckoned with. Humanity's ability to combine compassion with unparalleled strength set them apart from the Council, whose rule was based on fear and oppression. For many, humanity became a symbol of hope, proof that even the smallest voice could challenge the loudest oppressor. The Council's remaining fleets regrouped for a final stand, determined to salvage their authority. They concentrated their forces in a last-ditch effort to hold humanity at bay. But humanity was ready. The battle that followed would become the stuff of legend, a testament to humanity's resilience and tactical brilliance. By the end of it, the Council's armada lay in ruins, and their control over the galaxy was shattered. Humanity had proven its point. They were not the aggressors the Council had painted them to be, nor were they a species to be trifled with. They had faced the galaxy's most powerful force and emerged victorious, not through brute strength alone but through ingenuity, unity, and an unyielding determination to protect their own. The Council's defeat was both decisive and humiliating. With their fleets destroyed and their authority in shambles, they had no choice but to acknowledge the reality of their situation. Humanity's relentless assault had exposed not only the flaws in their military strategy, but also the cracks in their governance. What had once been seen as an unassailable empire was now a broken institution, scrambling to hold on to the remnants of its power. Humanity issued a final ultimatum to the Council, demanding reparations for the devastation of their colonies and an end to the policies that had marginalized Earth and its people. The message was direct, unyielding, and left no room for negotiation. The Council, accustomed to dictating terms, now found itself on the receiving end of demands. The remaining Council leaders convened in desperation, debating their options. Some pushed for continued resistance, clinging to the belief that humanity's success was a temporary anomaly. Others, however, recognized the futility of further conflict. Humanity had demonstrated not just strength but the will and capability to reshape the galaxy. As the Council faltered, humanity advanced. Their forces entered the Council's core systems, not as conquerors but as liberators. They dismantled the remaining military installations and ensured that no further threats could arise. But they refrained from imposing their rule, a move that surprised many who had expected vengeance or domination. Instead, humanity worked to restore order, prioritizing the protection of civilians and the rebuilding of critical infrastructure. The fall of the Council had far-reaching consequences. Oppressed species that had lived under its rule for centuries seized the opportunity to rise up, declaring their independence and forming new alliances. Many of these newly liberated civilizations turned to humanity for guidance, inspired by their resilience and unwillingness to bow to tyranny. A coalition began to form, one based on mutual respect and cooperation rather than fear and coercion. Humanity became the cornerstone of this new alliance, not by seeking power but by earning trust. The message humanity sent to the galaxy was clear: they had no desire to rule, only to ensure that no species would suffer the injustices they had endured. This philosophy resonated deeply with those who had experienced the Council's oppression. It marked the beginning of a new era, one defined not by centralized control but by decentralized cooperation. Humanity's role in this transformation cemented their reputation as both a force to be reckoned with and a symbol of hope. While the Council's remnants retreated into obscurity, humanity faced the challenge of maintaining their newfound influence. They understood that their actions had set a precedent, and with it came the responsibility to uphold the principles they had fought for. Earth's leaders worked tirelessly to ensure that their military power was used judiciously, avoiding the pitfalls of the very empire they had dismantled. Their focus shifted from war to diplomacy, fostering relationships with species across the galaxy to build a foundation for lasting peace. The technological advancements that had fueled humanity's victory also became tools for progress. Innovations developed for warfare were repurposed to improve the quality of life on Earth and beyond. Advanced energy systems powered entire planets, and medical breakthroughs eradicated diseases that had plagued civilizations for centuries. These contributions further solidified humanity's role as a leader in the galaxy, not through conquests but through collaboration and innovation. Despite their success, humanity remained vigilant. They knew that peace was fragile and that the galaxy's history was rife with cycles of conflict and domination. To prevent a resurgence of tyranny, they established a Council of Equals, where every species had a voice. This new governing body was a stark contrast to the old Galactic Council, designed to prioritize collective well-being over the interests of a select few. Humanity's participation was not as a dominant force but as a facilitator, ensuring that the mistakes of the past would not be repeated. The galaxy began to heal. Formerly oppressed civilizations rebuilt their worlds, guided by the principles of autonomy and mutual support. Trade flourished, knowledge was shared, and cultures once suppressed were celebrated. The scars of war remained, but they served as a reminder of what had been overcome. Humanity's actions had set a new standard for what was possible when a species refused to be defined by its limitations. As the years passed, humanity's legacy grew. They were remembered not just for their military prowess but for their unwavering commitment to justice and their ability to unite in the face of adversity. The phrase, "Never underestimate humanity," became a mantra among the galaxy's civilizations, a testament to the profound impact Earth had made. What began as a fight for survival had transformed into a movement that reshaped the very fabric of the galaxy. Humanity's journey from a marginalized species to a galactic power was marked by struggle, sacrifice, and triumph. Their story became a beacon of hope for those who faced oppression, a reminder that even the smallest voices could challenge the loudest oppressors. And though they had shown the galaxy their wrath, they had also revealed their capacity for compassion and cooperation, proving that true strength lay not in domination but in unity. The galaxy had entered a new phase of equilibrium, but the cost of humanity's rise to prominence was not forgotten. Earth and its colonies bore the scars of the Council's aggression, and the memory of lives lost in the conflict weighed heavily on every decision made by humanity's leaders. This newfound position of power was not celebrated as a victory, it was seen as a responsibility. Humanity had demonstrated its strength, but it now faced the challenge of ensuring that such a confrontation would never arise again. Efforts were immediately directed toward the stabilization of the galaxy. Humanity spearheaded initiatives to rebuild devastated regions, not only within their own territories but also across the worlds previously oppressed by the Council. Resources were allocated with precision, and projects were executed with a focus on efficiency and inclusion. This approach won humanity the admiration of species that had long been excluded from the corridors of power. It was a deliberate move to establish trust and lay the groundwork for lasting alliances. One of the most significant challenges was addressing the fractures left in the wake of the Council's collapse. The once dominant body had held the galaxy together through fear and coercion, and its absence created a power vacuum that many feared could lead to chaos. Rival factions began to emerge, some seeking to emulate the Council's control, while others sought to claim independence. Humanity's role became one of mediation, using its influence to bring opposing sides to the negotiating table. These efforts were not without difficulty, mistrust ran deep, and old rivalries resurfaced. Yet, humanity's commitment to fairness and equity often diffused tensions before they could escalate. Technological advancements became a cornerstone of humanity's diplomacy. The innovations that had given them an edge in war were now used to create opportunities for prosperity. Advanced communication networks were established to bridge gaps between distant civilizations, while energy-sharing systems transformed the economies of struggling planets. Humanity shared these technologies openly, ensuring that they were not perceived as tools of dominance but as instruments of cooperation. Education became another pillar of this new era. Humanity worked to create intergalactic academies where knowledge and culture could be exchanged freely. These institutions became melting pots of ideas, fostering understanding and reducing the divides that had long separated species. By investing in education, humanity demonstrated its belief that knowledge, rather than force, was the key to maintaining peace and progress. As humanity's influence grew, so did the calls for a formalized alliance to replace the defunct council. This alliance would be unlike any governing body the galaxy had seen before, emphasizing decentralization and shared decision-making. Humanity played a key role in shaping its structure, ensuring that every member species, regardless of size or power, had an equal voice. It was a complex and time-consuming process, but the result was a coalition that prioritized unity without sacrificing individuality. Despite these efforts, not everyone welcomed humanity's leadership. Remnants of the Council, now reduced to isolated factions, continued to resist. They launched sporadic attacks on humanity's allies, hoping to destabilize the fragile peace. Each attack was met with a measured but firm response. Humanity's military, though largely demobilized, remained vigilant and capable. These skirmishes served as reminders that the galaxy's transformation was far from complete. Internally, humanity faced its own struggles. The rapid shift from a species fighting for survival to one leading a galactic coalition created tensions within Earth's societies. Some questioned the costs of their newfound responsibilities, arguing that resources should be focused on rebuilding their own worlds before aiding others. These debates were fierce but ultimately productive, leading to policies that balanced domestic needs with galactic obligations. The rise of humanity also inspired a cultural renaissance. Artists, writers, and thinkers used the events of the conflict to create works that celebrated resilience and unity. Stories of the war and its aftermath became part of the shared consciousness, not as glorifications of violence but as reminders of what could be achieved through determination and collaboration. These cultural exports further solidified humanity's role as a unifying force, resonating with species across the galaxy. The most profound change, however, was the shift in how humanity was perceived. Once seen as an anomaly, a fragile species from a dangerous world, humanity was now regarded as a symbol of what was possible when innovation, resilience, and moral conviction aligned. This transformation was not achieved through conquest or subjugation but through actions that demonstrated a deep respect for the rights and dignity of others. Humanity had shown the galaxy its wrath, but it had also shown its capacity for compassion, justice, and hope. As the galaxy moved forward, humanity remained vigilant. They knew that peace was never permanent, and that the challenges of tomorrow would require the same determination that had carried them through the trials of the past. Their legacy was not just one of survival. It was a promise to the galaxy that no species, no matter how small or underestimated, should ever have to face oppression alone. And in that promise, humanity found its true purpose: